Hey guys, this is Rashad, and today we're talking blocks and chains. Blockchain has been a lot of things, and among being the subject of YOLO investments and the magic bullet to solve every problem humanity has, it's also been the subject of wild speculation. Back in 2017, a company simply added blockchain to its name, and its shares went up 200%. And here in 2021, we're pouring money into Shiba Inu and all of its variations of altcoins. And I have so much to say about this, so much so that I went ahead and started a YouTube channel. So welcome. I'm currently a software engineer at a cashless payments processing company, and I've been learning about the underpinnings, the technical underpinnings of blockchain technology. I'm also interested in investment opportunities. And no, before you think it, this is not going to be a channel where we're making press predictions about altcoins and meme coins. There's definitely a 10x or nothing, moth the flame sort of mentality that brings a lot of people to invest in cryptocurrency, and we're not going to be fanning those flames in this channel. Every once in a while, I might discuss the tokenomics of a coin, but it will in no way be intended as financial advice. Anyway, lots to cover, so let's get started. And we'll start with how blockchain technology actually works. And guys, remember, I plan to make a lot of videos in this space, and my goal is to help you understand how blockchain works and what some of its applications are. Because Doge to the moon or not, blockchain is inevitably going to be ubiquitous all around you. And if you want to commit to learning about blockchain technology and its applications in bite-sized, understandable morsels, hit that subscribe button, follow my channel, and we'll make that journey together. Let's unchain this. What is blockchain? There's blocks and there's chains. There's many, many, many chains. So many you could make a network out of them. Let's start with the problem. Money changes hands, like a lot. People love spending. Glory be to capitalism. All good. But a system that supports this behavior needs to guarantee two things. You can't have a party without ground rules, and here are the rules. 1, you can't spend money you don't have, and 2, you can't double spend the money that you've already spent. The middlemen here, the party police, are the banks. Very central, very authoritative, and without these banks acting as middlemen to sort of mediate the transactions that happen between people, it would be the wild, wild west. And that's a crazy party that nobody's trying to go to. And that's where blockchain technology comes in. That's all it does. It keeps a record of all transactions and ensures that actors in the system can't break those two rules. So what are these blocks? These blocks are essentially a collection of valid transactions. Valid meaning people are forced to play nice. They can't break those two rules. What about chain? You guessed it. The chain is a complete record of all transactions since Elon Musk himself, Lion King, lifted the first block and marked it valid. Once a block is in a chain, it cannot be touched, it cannot be altered. This is cryptographically guaranteed. Cryptography is the same technology that is used to secure your passwords. And we haven't gotten to the centralized bit yet. A blockchain has all the data, all the juicy details for all of the transactions. And this is essentially your ledger. But if all that was stored in one place, say on one dude's hard drive, that dude would be gone. And if for whatever reason, that hard drive were to go toast, so would the entire financial system that we built up. No, doesn't work. We need it to be distributed. What if Jeff Bezos came around and was like, fam, I got you. I got a few data centers lying around. Going to space has got me feeling all generous. I can spot you lads with some data centers. Amazon data centers are fail-proof. Problem solved, right? Nope. Sorry, Bezos, can't have it all, even if you're the first real-life space cowboy. We started out with a mission to cut out the middlemen. We can't lean on an authority to provide the trust. The system has to be trustless, and that's a good thing, and it has to be decentralized. So copies of the entire blockchain is distributed among a lot of participating nodes. And this is your blockchain network. What are nodes? Anything that has storage and compute power. It can be your cell phone. It needs to be able to store the blockchain and run a piece of code that guarantees that a new block is legit. Only and only if a block is legit does a node add this block to the blockchain. It then broadcasts this new blockchain to all the other participating nodes. so they can add it to their local blockchains as well. And there you have it, a decentralized, distributed ledger. Oh hey, you're still here. That's what I want to see. This blockchain research can take you into some deep rabbit holes, so we're going to try to pace ourselves. So grab a drink of water, hydrate, and while you're at it, that subscribe button is looking pretty thirsty, so feel free to hydrate that as well. So what do we have so far? A network of connected nodes that contain the entire history of transactions and a buttload of questions. So let's dive a bit deeper. A blockchain, at the end of the day, is a database. It has data. What's special about a blockchain is that when data has been added to it, it cannot be mutated or changed. I said earlier that this was cryptographically guaranteed. And this cryptography business is what blockchain needs all of its computational muscle for. A blockchain is a very special database in that anybody can write to it. But in order for you to write to it, you need to solve a computational puzzle first. A block of transactions is only added to the blockchain when a mathematical puzzle associated with that block gets solved. So you have transactions coming into the network and they need processing. There are a vast variety of different protocols that handle this processing. But as a starter, I'm going to talk about how a proof of work consensus mechanism handles this data processing. Let's look at how this would happen without the blockchain, off the chain, if you will. You have banks and you have cashless payments processing companies. They take the burden of processing these transactions for you, and their incentive is the profit they get to make off of your money. This can take the form of transaction fees, or it could take the form of banks using your money to make investments of their own. And eventually, with enough fees and interests, they're going to be able to send their CEOs off into space in cowboy hats while you wait your 2 to 3 business days to get your transactions processed. I digress. The blockchain is decentralized because anybody can take on the burden of adding this next block to the blockchain. When someone solves the puzzle and adds this next block to the blockchain, 2 things happen. 1, they get rewarded. In case of Bitcoin, the person is rewarded a fixed number of the blockchain's token being Bitcoin. So if you're a miner because you just mined for Bitcoins, you essentially get paid money to solve math problems. When you're in school, nobody tells you you get paid to do math in real life. Anyway, number 2, this node that just solved the math problem broadcasts its win to all the other nodes in the network. And these nodes, because this is a valid blockchain, accept this blockchain as the new state of the blockchain network. I will take a second to repeat this again. Distributed ledger. That's all it is. The entire copy of the new blockchain is adopted by all nodes in the network. Time for the next block to be mined. Time for the next deeper dive. Time for you to hit that subscribe button and buckle up for Daddy Satoshi as we're going into the final segment of our video. But Rashad, where does cryptography come in? This is the spice we stayed in tune for. Give us the goods. All right. I will hash out the details. So each block has 3 important pieces of information. Number 1, transaction data. You know, boring stuff. Who sent money to who? Oh, by the way, the identity of people who are doing these transactions are represented as public keys, so it's fairly anonymized. Public and private keys are not going to be let on stage for this video, but rest assured, they're going to get their moment in limelight. Different roadshow. Number 2, the hash for the previous block. And this is what makes it a chain. Each block points to the last block, and so on. And number 3, the nonce, which is short for nonsense. I'm serious. It's meant to be the number that can only be used once, and I'll get into this in a minute. Additionally, the block will also contain information like the software version number and timestamps, but what the fish, that is irrelevant for the purposes of this deep dive. Nobody wants to swim in those waters. You've probably heard the term hash function get thrown around a fair amount. And for the purposes of unpacking the cryptography involved here, we're going to have to address this obscure elephant in the room. Bear with me. This will be worth it. Hash functions are responsible for blockchains being able to store information in such a way that no one is able to go into the chains and mess with the information stored. A hash function is a function, black box, magic portal, whatever floats your boat, that takes data and outputs a 256-bit number. Bits are essentially ones and zeros. This is how computers store their information. So what a hash function really is outputting is a series of 256 ones and zeros. If you're snooping around public addresses, public keys, and whatnot, you'll often see this number represented as a hexadecimal, which is shorter because it's allowed to use the letters A through F and the numbers 0 through 9 instead of just ones and zeros. Who am I kidding? Nobody stumbles on the public addresses and public keys and all that stuff. Anyway, moving on. Data in, 256-bit number out. Whatever the data, however big or however small. But magic portal or not, here are the two things you do need to know about what makes hash functions special. Number one, for a given input, you always get the same output or the same hash. That is, it's deterministic. Number two, no two inputs is going to give you the same hash, ideally. In fact, very small changes in the inputs will lead to very, very different hashes. And lastly, we use one-way hash functions for blockchains. So what that means is you can't take the output hash and use it to reverse engineer what the input was. All right, how are we doing? Breathe. We're getting to the good stuff. I feel like I'm baiting you, because this is actually boring stuff. But the reason it's good is because this simple concept explains so much about how blockchains work. Essentially, when a new block is being created, it takes all of the transactions, stuffs it into this hash function so that it gets an output. Now this is fast and simple. If you're a miner, your computer hasn't even cracked its knuckles yet. Here's where the challenge comes in. The open challenge that the blockchain network, like the Bitcoin network, presents to all participating nodes and miners is this. Take the output hash and convert it to another hash with one constraint. This new hash has to have a numerical value less than a given threshold. So this is where the nonce comes in. Call back. You use the nonce to combine it to this output hash from transactions to come up with the solution hash. Every hash has a value, because it can be converted to a 256-bit number. And usually this is meaningless information. It's the equivalent of the middle school games you used to play where you'd give every letter a numerical value and use it to calculate the compatibility you have with your crush. But from the point of view of the challenge, the value of the hash is everything. If you're a miner's computer watching, I got you, fam. I'm bringing your story to the world. You take the output from transactions and you take a nonce, say 0. You feed them into the hash function. Is your new hash less than the target? No. Try again. Pick 1 for the nonce number. Feed that into the hash function. Is your new hash less than the target number? No. Try again. Pick 2. Put that into the hash function. Is your new number less? So if you're a miner's computer, I am sorry. This is a terrible life. But this is what a brute force algorithm looks like. And it is incredibly expensive, computationally speaking. So why do it? Seriously, even if you aren't the miner's computer, the electricity bills are through the roof. Here's why. To the very first miner that is able to find this hash value that is less than the target value, their block is accepted into the blockchain. They've won the right to add a block to the blockchain. If you're mining for the Bitcoin protocol, the network gives you 6.25 Bitcoins for getting the job done, as of the recording of this video. This new blockchain is then sent or distributed to all the other nodes in the network, and the network becomes ready for the next block of transactions. This new hash value that was the solution to our challenge becomes the previous hash value in the next block. One of the 3 things that we said was important for a block to hold. Okay, that's fine and fancy, but how does this prevent somebody from coming in and changing a value in some random block in the chain? And note that the same blockchain exists on all nodes of the system. There is no one central computer that is the source of truth here. So let's say, I don't know, if Thanos were to change the data on this block, it would essentially create a new output hash for this block, and the next block would no longer be pointing to this output hash. So the entire blockchain is invalidated. You would have to redo the hashes of all the other blocks down the chain, racking up enormous electric bills and computational power expended along the way before you're able to build a chain of the same length as the original chain. Hence the term proof of work, consensus. And remember, while you're trying to hack this local blockchain, all the other nodes in the network are increasing the length of the blockchain by adding new transactions. So in order for you to make a tiny change in one block, you have to redo the computations of all the other blocks in the chain and do it fast enough to catch up with all the other nodes in the network that are adding blocks to this distributed blockchain. You'd need a quantum computer to be able to match the compute power, the collective compute power of all the other nodes in the network. Or more realistically, you'd need the Infinity Gauntlet. If you're still around watching, hats off to you. You are one patient dude, my friend. Anyway, hit that button. You know what's up. I will see you in the next video.